right, you guys ready for Plant Press 101?
Yes.
All right, so this is Desmodium something. I don't know, I'm too hot to remember right now. So this plant started out probably 2 feet-ish tall, which is a little bit too large for the plant press. So typically we want a plant that's approximately 18 inches tall. So I guess this is maybe a little more than 2 feet, but in any case, you can kind of bend your plant to fit this sheet. So usually you want to dig your plant out if it's a small one with a soil knife, ideally, or a trowel, one of the two. I'm trying to keep this away from the children, but that's the tool you want to use. So we're trying to get as much of the root as possible because it's just useful for figuring out what the species is and for genetic data. So I tried to get as much of this out of the soil as possible, but as we may have noticed, it's a little bit dry at the moment. So we cut it off a little bit right here, unintentionally. Ideally, we want a little bit more, but that's all right. So we're going to separate this into 2 sections. Some of our other tools that we have here are cam straps, which are these. You can buy these online as, I think they sell herbarium press straps, but it's a lot cheaper to just go to Lowe's and pay $10 for cam straps. So we use those. And then this is a press frame. These you can get from, I think it's Herbarium Supplies. Yeah, but they're pretty slow on shipping. So if you feel like, building these, I would be interested. So we're going to be using that, the blotting paper and newspaper, and then corrugated cardboard that's kind of fit to the press. So the layers are going to go corrugated cardboard on the outside, and then blotting paper, and then newspaper. So this, we're just going to do the bottom section on this one. Ideally, you don't want any of the leaves to be layered over each other, and you also want to have both the sunlit surface and the underside of the leaf visible. That helps you with IDing plants usually. So we're just going to say that this is good enough. This is beautiful and perfect. Usually I try not to do this out in the field just because it's a little tricky because of wind and things like that. So typically we'll take these back to the lab and then try to press them in a more controlled environment. But for now, we're just going to make a little sandwich. And then from here, we can just kind of keep stacking. So we have all these little sandwiches of cardboard, blotting paper, newspaper. So the second part of the plant, we're going to stick right here. And with these, sometimes the flower parts will, this is why we do it in the lab. But say what? Yeah. Oh, they're stuck to me. So sometimes the flower parts will kind of fall off. And for that reason, we have these little fragment packets that we use. I didn't bring any today, but we have a bunch at the lab where you just kind of put it down in a corner, you glue it, and then you put any little pieces that fall off into that packet.
It's really helpful for grasses and stuff.
Yes.
Seed heads fall.
Yes, yeah. Any seeds, anything kind of that nature, any reproductive parts we usually want to save. I didn't realize it. Cover him a little better. So if you have ones that are kind of going upward like this, you can cut them off if you want to, which will make the thing lay flatter. In this case, this is a soft enough plant that you can kind of just mash it down. So that's okay. We're just going to cover them up with more newspaper, blotting paper, and cardboard. So this was a 2-pager. We would also take a lot of data from this. Typically, it would be like a GPS point, all the location data, the family, what species we think it is, if we have any idea. Sometimes we don't. What else goes on there?
Describe the color of the flowers too, because that can fade. Mm-hmm. And if that's a big identifying characteristic, this was bright pink when we found it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, sometimes, I'll get things out of the drying cabinet or freezer, and it's just, as you said, completely different color. some colors stay a little bit better than others, I think.
Purple always stays.
Yeah, purple's pretty good. Okay, so we'll do this guy. So this one we can see has a significantly larger kind of root going on here. So if we were to try to press it, it would probably make this kind of wobbly situation, which we don't love. We don't want that. That makes it so that one section of the press will be lifted, which doesn't squish the leaves enough to get kind of like a flat dry on it. So in this case, I would use this foam. Need newspaper too, huh? All right. Yeah.
Or do you need foam?
I usually do it on the top. I mean, we could do both though, if you want.
No.
Yeah. Was that a two-parter? Yeah. Okay. All right, so this is also another pretty tall guy. So this is Vernonia, either Gigantea or Missouri. Yeah, Mazurka. Okay, so this guy, we're going to do the same thing. Probably start in one corner, and then you can bend it to fit on the sheet. This one, I would probably keep these here. And if you have parts that are kind of falling off, you can always cut them off as long as it's still obvious that it was there. So as long as you have a little petiole or a piece of a leaf, something like that, that's good enough.
If you want a pair of scissors or a scalpel, I've got my dissection kit in the back.
Okay. Yeah.
Hey, Ariel, did you pass me that gray backpack? Thank you. At least a scalpel.
Yes. And for things that you can't dig up, I'm not going to dig up a maple tree or something like that. That's crazy. So for those situations, we just go through and cut off like a little section of branch and use that.
Also, at least when we're doing stuff in public places, make sure that we fill the hole back in. We don't want to encourage people to poach plants or anything like that.
Yes. Okay. And if you have something that's, 6 or 9 feet tall, like big blue stem is one where we end up using, 3, many sheets. Because you have to divide it, into like this size kind of sections. So, it's a lot. Okay, so we're going to say that we got this perfect. If I were doing this in the lab a little more neatly, I probably would remove some of these leaves so that they aren't piled onto each other. And I'd cut off this little edge as well so that you don't have leaves dangling off. That's probably good. Okay. So in this case, since we have such a thick root, we're going to use this foam on top and then blotting paper. Cardboard. So we should have, if you look at the edge, just like a little sandwich, just kind of repeating. And you don't have to double up the cardboard in between unless you really want to. And if you have an extra thick kind of root system, you can use multiple pieces of the foam if you'd like.
Or you can shave them.
Yes. Always an option to kind of use a...
I shave them.
Yeah, you can use a potato peeler or, whatever you happen to have.
Yeah, if it's a bulb, it's pretty much impossible to mount.
Yes. I do not recommend doing this for cacti. Some people are brave. I'm not one of those people. Most cacti are kind of just left as is and just put in a box or a jar or something like that after they've been dried out. Although I have seen some herbarium vouchers.
Hollow them out?
Yeah, yep. So there's little glaucidia on cacti, which is kind of what we don't want to get involved with. They do make little clear plastic sheets that you can put your herbarium vouchers in, and that would be an example of something that we would want.
You do that for like poison ivy too, right?
Yes, yep. If you decide to press poison ivy, you would want to use cotton gloves and the plastic sheeting also, just to protect yourself. So we have our nice little sandwich here. And where'd my other frame go? Okay, so the exterior of the frame should have the long sides on the outside. So this is the same on the bottom. We want the long pieces facing outward. And then you grab a friend to squish it down for you. And I usually step on them, but, you know, dealer's choice. Yep. And then you just tighten these as tight as you possibly can. Oh, lift up for a second. Yeah. Okay, tighten it. I like to tighten it a little bit and then step on it if possible. So this is my least favorite type of strap if you're getting straps. These are not the best. Definitely prefer the yellow ones, but you're just going to want to kind of yank on these, make it as tight as possible so that you have a really, really flat herbarium voucher at the end of it. So once this is all tightened, you can tie the straps together and carry it around a little bit easier. And following this, you're going to let it dry for, it really depends on what the plant is, but usually between 4 and 7 days typically, unless it's something very, very thick. So following the drying, you're going to stick them in the freezer so that you can kill all the insects and not infest your entire herbarium collection with horrible pests. All right.
So
Any
if you
questions?
freeze it,
Yeah.
then what? It comes out of the freezer
Mm-hmm.
and it thaws?
Yeah.
It dries? Is it...
So we typically will put ours in the freezer in like a plastic bag of some kind, just because
okay.
when it thaws out, you know, you'll have condensation, which can damage the plant. So it's better for the condensation to be on the outside of the bag instead of on your plant.
Got it.
Yeah.
It's mounted.
Is that the way you preserve them? Is that like doing this is the way you preserve them and then you can study and get information from it?
Yeah, so these plants, we have 140,000 plus, yeah, something like that, at Austin Peay State University.
What's the oldest
So
one?
does it preserve the
1700s?
nutritional value of the plant better if you do it this way versus harvest it and freeze dry?
Freeze drying is more appropriate for something that you're going to be eating. These are more like,
Visual.
yeah, more for visual, yeah, because sometimes pictures don't really do things justice. Like, you have to really feel a texture in order to figure out what a plant is, or you have to see really, really teeny parts. So having an actual physical, you know, real life specimen is really nice. Additionally, these will last, you know, 300 years plus. We have some that are from the 1700s.
Wow.
So if you ever want a tour of the herbarium, we would love to do that. We love the herbarium. All right, I think that's pretty much it, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.